Hello, welcome to the Late Night Lounge here on Latte Firm. It's Friday, the 4th of July, and what a difficult 48 hours it's been for football for the worst reasons. First up, of course, Diogo Jota. We will talk about him towards the end of the show. Desperately sorry to hear that news yesterday. Second, of course, you will have heard today that Thomas Partey has been charged with 5 counts of rape and 1 count of sexual assault as per the BBC. The offences are reported to have taken between 2021 and 2022, and the charges involve 3 women. The BBC have contacted Arsenal and the Football Association. The Premier League have declined to comment. Arsenal, I think, have just released a statement through Sami Mokbel, and the player is expected to appear at Westminster Magistrates Court on the Tuesday, the 5th of August. Now, unfortunately, obviously, it's a legal case, legal matter, so it's not something that I or any of the guests are going to talk about today. I can't control what happens in the chat. Please try to keep it clean and respectful for anybody watching. My apologies in advance for anything that does come out unexpectedly that might offend people or upset people. So I think that's pretty much it. It's a bit of a sour tone to start tonight's show on, but I'm grateful for you guys making the show. I hope you've all had a good week. I hope you're all in good health, and I hope you are here to enjoy what hopefully will be some positive content from Latte Firm. Really difficult 48 hours. A warm welcome also to our newest subscribers. We've had just over 1,000 subscribers in the last few weeks. Really appreciate you tuning into the Daily Grind. My apologies for not doing one yesterday. Very difficult to do in the circumstances. Just didn't feel right to just come online and talk about transfers given what had happened earlier in the morning. So difficult for the entire footballing world. But I appreciate you guys joining, and looking forward to bringing on Wayne and Yembele in just a second. V Vlad, welcome to the house, says, good evening, guys. What an awful week. Tomi will be missed. Top guy, top pro, top player when fit. Come on, you Gunners. We're going to talk about Takehiro Tomiyasu, of course. Arigato Tomiyasu. He's now not an Arsenal player. Louis says Tomiyasu deserves better than our club. Glad he is free now. We're going to have to wait and see how that sort of unfolds. Really sort of disappointing to see him leave. Got some thoughts on that in a second. Tamina, how am I doing today? Thank you for joining. I'm okay. Obviously been a very difficult day for football and for Arsenal and for a lot of people. So a challenging one today. Karen says, hello, hope everyone is okay. Yes, to you too, Karen. Welcome to the show. Dave's in the house, says, good evening, Gooners. So gutted for Tomiyasu, such a unique talent, able to play across the back four without much of a drop-off. Really hope that he's able to step back on the pitch one day. I think that is sentiment shared by the panelists and, of course, most of the chat, which is going to be fantastic. Welcome. Thank you, Henke Ho. Always here, ever present, always making me smile. Really appreciate you. Lots of people got early in the snack check. It is going to be quite a good snack check. Sorry, I'm a little bit flat tonight. Forgive me for that. Patrick says, evening all. DJ D10 says, it's FK Friday. Friday night, folks. Good evening, everyone. Good evening to you as well. Really appreciate all of you joining. Wow, there's so many of you already watching. Hundreds. Please do like the video, subscribe to the channel, all that sort of stuff. Let's bring in our guest. Let's lighten the mood, okay? First up, it's Yembele. How are you, my man?
I'm okay. Pretty getting warmer again, which is a bit odd. This is a snack check we're looking forward to. Obviously, I've gone to great lengths to obviously ensure that we do the appropriate snack checking, haven't I? So.
Yeah, it's going to be quite a snack check. Ladies and gents, let me tell you, those of you on X will have seen me with the strawberry emoji. That's potentially a clue. And of course, Wimbledon has started. That's another clue. And of course, my phrase, this isn't just Arsenal YouTube. This is Latte Firm YouTube. By the way, can you see that massive spot on the side of my head there, Yembele?
Yes,
you can now. Huge. The whole world can now. There you go, in the lighting. Oh, that's terrible. Very, very painful. But there we are. Gunny Guna says,
lovely. I'm glad we're on Spot Watch now.
I know. And sorry for being late. Lots of people reminded me about that as well. Christoph, afternoon to you. Anna of Arsenal is in the house. Latte Firm family, thank you for that. Let's all stick together. Let's all try and be positive. Let's all try and keep the chat clean, like I say. Jonathan K says, big up FK. Horrific day for the club. Horrific day for football. Horrific day. Horrific couple of days for football for just the worst reasons, and two very different stories, of course. Haroon, love you, FK. Appreciate you doing the show. Thank you. I appreciate you too, Haroon. I appreciate all your advice, and thank you for being my guest also on the Daily Grind, which was fantastic that you had. Look, the chat is wild. Yem, how's your week been? I know you said it's warm, but difficult couple of days for football. We'll get into all of that. But how are you? You good?
Yeah, yesterday was a bit of a downer. Obviously, it just came. The news came quite out of the blue. I think we'll talk about it later on. Let's talk about it later on. But yeah, it's yesterday's been a bit of a downer. But school holidays have started. Oh, jeez, 8 weeks. 8 weeks.
I know, it's crazy.
Ed Robbie.
When's it going to end? I know, yeah. So for those of you that are watching from overseas, the summer holidays in the UK for some schools have already started today, and we are looking forward to 8 weeks of fun-filled action. Right, let's talk about fun-filled. Let's bring in Wayne, who apparently has been for a swim this evening. I can't believe it.
First of all, let's say school holidays have started for the rich folk. All right. The common public schoolers have still got a good 2 weeks left. All right. None of this school holiday. Mate, it's the 4th of July.
I know, which is really annoying to us. Look, you think we like this? You think we want the extra 2 weeks? No. Every year it's the same story. Me and Fires discuss the same story. This is abominable. And they let them out early as well. It's literally an hour of school today.
No, listen, get your kids in public school, all right?
Which public school? Tell Keir Starmer.
They'll grow up streetwise, first of all.
Streetwise.
And they'll be in school for another 2 weeks.
What, the mean streets of Woodford? Hello, yo.
Oh dear. AFC 777 says, I love Hand of Arsenal and Latte Firm. Great team. Jonathan, also your comment earlier. Love the late night lattes. Best content of the week. That's very kind of you. Really appreciate it. Those of you that have just been watching the Daily Grind this week, the Late Night Lounge is a regular Friday feature where it's a lot more chilled, a lot more laid back, and we just talk about all things Arsenal. Get involved in the chat. We'll take questions towards the end. Ask either of my distinguished guests, panelists, anything you want to know about Arsenal, anything that's going on in their lives as it feels like today. And on tonight's show, we are going to talk about, of course, Takehiro Tomiyasu, who wishes Arsenal farewell and vice versa. A mutual termination of his contract really surprised me. We'll get your thoughts on him and how you think the club have acted. Gabriel Heinze has been appointed or is going to be appointed as an additional coach to Mikel Arteta's setup. What did you think of that, chat? Going to be really interesting to hear your thoughts on that. There is obviously a hunt for a striker going on, but the news has gone quiet. So where is my number 9? Where is our striker, to use your words, Yembele, in the chat today? Chelsea, surprise, surprise, another week, another fine. But it's a bit of a weird one, finding someone who's been spending terribly, just finding them a tin pot fine. It just doesn't make any sense. And then, of course, the Premier League have agreed to have a TV overhaul in terms of coverage next season. So cameras in the dressing rooms at halftime, cameras on the pitch during goal celebrations. Lots of changes coming. I want to get your thoughts, chaps, on those changes. And of course, we will end with a very small an hour tribute to Diogo Jota towards the end. So tuck in, bring your snacks, open your snacks. Let's start with our snacks. Snack check, regular feature. Wayne, what have you got for us tonight first? Because I believe you've got something a little different to Yembele and I.
Yes, I'm not a degenerate like the two of you. I'm not taking part in this nonsense. I am making a stand, and I refuse to be grouped in with you two degenerates. So I have gone upmarket and classy just to keep the establishment going here at Latte Firm. I've done a bad job of ripping the packaging, but some Thornton's caramel shortbread.
How do you
bites.
Open a packet like that?
What have you done?
Are you a monster? Are you a child?
There's directions on there is directions on the packet. What have you done?
They literally show you how to open packets like that.
No, I slipped. Like my hand slipped.
You slipped?
What?
That is the worst.
Sorry, Miss, I slipped and massacred a packet of chocolate.
Do you know what? I've done it all my life. My mum cusses anytime I get a letter or a birthday card or something. She hates the way that I open the birthday card, and you should see if anyone wraps me a Christmas pair of socks. Now that I'm a dad, that's all I get. A Christmas pair of socks or a birthday present. You should see the way that I unwrap it. It looks somewhat like this, but I can promise you, it says Thornton's.
How do you seal it back up properly? This is honestly, how do you reseal that?
Hang on, who has time? Who has time to seal them properly? There's only 3 left. What do you mean?
You're gonna stop them all now.
They're not lasting to the end of the show. So yeah,
enjoy.
I'm not taking part in your nonsense.
Enjoy, Wayne. DJ D10 says it's the best live show on the internet. Really appreciate that. Jonathan's gone with mini donuts and some chocolate milk here. Very, very good. And a happy 4th of July to those of you who partake and celebrate across the pond. AFC 777 has yesterday's KFC as tonight's snack. Now, I've got to say, the idea of congealed Colonel's Finest puts me off. However, if you don't microwave it, if you actually whack it back in the oven and slow bake it, it comes out an absolute treat. I would argue, on occasion, it tastes
cold.
even better. Have it from
cold.
the fridge.
Yeah, as long as it's not chips. As long as it's not chips.
Come on, Wayne. You can't
As
be
long
having
as it's not
cold
chips.
leftover KFC.
You can have cold leftover anything.
Christophe Michel says mozzarella and pesto grilled cheese sandwich, homemade pesto as well. That is that's a Latte firm worthy snack. Dave's gone for cheesecake crumble donut tonight, not the Krispy Kreme, unfortunately. Karen says she loves them. I think she means maybe your snack there. AFC 777 says he's having hot wings. He's having hot wings. By the way, I've just realised, and 433 just reminded me, Diogo Jota backdrop for the Oasis Live Forever at the Comeback Gig. That is class. There's a photo of the Gallagher brothers walking out on stage, which I think could be photo of the year already, which is amazing. Whole milk. I've gone for a cup of whole milk. Not surprised. Donald's gone for posh chocolate shortcakes, making Yembele highly jealous. Hey, there's some sacrilege in the chat. There's this criticism of KFC. What's going on, Terence Tibbs? Come on, behave yourself. Behave yourself. And people ask why I join this show every week, says Hand of Arsenal. Right, Yembele, come on. Let's please the crowd. Let's let them know what we are planning on munching tonight.
Go on, you do because obviously.
Okay. Well, because of Wimbledon and because of the summertime, and I'm sure you guys have all seen it, but M&S have gone and made a strawberry sandwich. Now it's called the M&S Limited Edition Red Diamond Strawberry and Cream. I don't like cream. I'm just putting it out there already.
Yeah,
I don't
I'm
like
not a big
cream.
fan
But
either.
Yembele hand delivered this to my house this morning, which is just terrific. And I got to say, when I looked at it, Yem, I was disappointed. It's only one. It's like half a sandwich. It's like one piece of bread.
I really am.
Wayne, it's not even a full sandwich. Like this is false advertising right here.
It's just one slice.
It's just
it's just one sandwich.
It's half a sandwich.
Look, this is what it is.
All right, so I'm going to open it, and it's basically got strawberry and cream. And this half sandwich is 36% of your day's saturate fats.
And £3 as well. £3 for this
right, so
one half sandwich.
Here we go. Right, and it's quite thick. I've got to be honest. Let me know in the chat what you think. If those of you that have indulged,
it's a sweet bread. It's a sweetened bread apparently, so a little bit different. In light of Takehiro Tomiyasu, this is actually based on a Japanese dessert
the strawberries
sandwich.
Smell divine. There you go. Chat. There is how massive the sandwich is. Right, there are hundreds of people watching, just wondering what the hell are we doing here.
Right, shall I go?
Vive Lad says, "Come on, FK. Let's see what Yembele has. Yem, what you got for us? I mean, it's the same thing.
I got the same.
Go on. You should we go? Hang on, before we go each. Zohaib says Gulab Jamun. That's what he's having today.
That's nice.
AP says, is Yem disguised as Wayne today? What is wrong with him? Football with Dax. Welcome to the show. He says some Guinness and homemade burgers. He's also made some nice vanilla and coconut latte earlier in the evening. Now, I'm not a big fan of coconut, but because it's a latte, I'll give you that. All the R's. Mama, exactly my thoughts. Exactly my thoughts. Right, come on, Yem. 1, 2, 3. Let's go.
I think your faces say it all. Absolute degeneracy.
Oh no!
Absolute degenerate.
The bread is awful. Oh. That's not even sweet. What kind of bread is this?
Oh.
Mm.
I'm live on there.
Oh, dear.
It's not good.
M&S. I love your food, but oh dear, this is tragic.
Oh, that's terrible.
The strawberries are delicious. Look, the strawberries are delicious, and they're M&S quality. Lovely. The bread is.
It's not good, people. No. And how much was it, Yembele? How much did it retail at?
£3 each, almost £2.80.
Oh, that's really bad. Really bad. DJ Polar says the blood sugar levels. Do you know what? That one tiny bite that I've had, right? I can feel. There's my tiny bite. By the way, where do you start? You know, when you have sandwiches, where do you guys normally start your sandwiches? Do you normally bite in the middle, or do you normally bite at the edge?
I buy it from the
The
side.
edge. The edge, yeah.
From the edge as well. Yeah.
The strawberries
Right,
are very good. The strawberries are
Strawberries are
top-notch.
good. Strawberries are good. Whole milk is just laughing. Yeah, I mean, that looks horrible, and I can confirm it is horrible. Vig says strawberry and chocolate would have been better. Tory food, says Ian, which is why we're surprised Wayne hasn't got one tonight. I was going to be nice to M&S because we're looking for sponsorship, but listen, M&S, mate, I think AP, you're on the money. Can I just quickly shout out Paul Pavlinsky for a very, very generous super chat, very kind donation to the channel. Really appreciate it, my friend. I think I've decided I'm going to go full premium on Canva, so that's going to contribute towards the license costs. So thank you. I really appreciate that. I don't know if you've got a comment that you want to add as well, if you've mistyped something, but do get back into the chat and I will read that out for you. Thank you so much for that. Zahaib says move on, gents, and that is exactly what we're going to do. We are going to move on from that slanderous Snapchat. That's terrible. Dave says your face is said
wash it out. I'm trying to wash it out. Ugh.
It's not right. It leaves a really bad aftertaste. Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to leave it in leave it in the fridge and tell my wife it's a treat for her. I just
see her reaction.
No, you know what happened? When you delivered it, and she was obviously at home.
Oh, she was looking at it, wasn't she?
She looked at it as if like, and I said, don't touch it. Remember last time the double doubles, Wayne, when she ate half the flipping snack? And I said, look, I'll leave you a little bit. So I'm going to go and put this in the fridge and make sure she tucks in. How about that? Who said romance is dead? Right. Let's get on with football chat. Okay. Thank you for tuning in. I feel better now. The mood has been slightly lightened. Let's share the slides. So where we are going to start is with thank you, Tomiyasu. Thank you, Arsenal, he said. The headlines today, the headlines broke today. I heard the news yesterday morning and just didn't want to believe it. It was just a very, it's a very un-Arsenal thing to do. Mutually agreeing to terminate a contract of a player who's 4 or 5 months away from recovery. So this must be a very deep thing. Conversations I'm sure have been going on for weeks, maybe months with him, depending on who you believe on socials. May have been a disagreement around a sort of rehab and stuff, but also him living away from most of his family in the UK, recovering on his own from what is a serious injury. Lots of different sort of contributory factors, but the headline is that Arsenal defender, former defender, Takehiro Tomiyasu is leaving the club after mutually agreeing to terminate his contract. The Japanese international is recovering currently from a knee surgery, and he's played just 6 minutes of football last season. 6 minutes. And he's only 26 years of age. He missed the start of last season with his previous knee injury, which required surgery back in 2023. His existing contract was due to expire at the end of next season, so he had 1 year running on it. But Arsenal and Tomiyasu have come to an agreement to now part company with one another. Tomiyasu, of course, who joined from Bologna back in 2021, has only made 79 appearances for Arsenal, 65 in the Premier League out of a possible 152. So it's not a great sort of return for him. And you know what? From a Latte firm perspective, I think the Tomiyasu breakdown with Nima Tavaloy-Rutsari remains the most popular video of this channel's history. But listen, that's the facts. Them's the facts. Wayne, when the story broke, and Hand of Arsenal, of course, last night going live with the tweets, and it all got sort of confirmed today, the club putting out their statement. How's that sort of grabbed you over the last 24 hours or so?
Well, Hand of Arsenal was actually giving you the credit there, FK, in the chat. If you take a look back through some of the messages there, he said credit to you.
Look, we exchange messages. Hand of Arsenal does all the work. He has to go and get things verified. He's got so many contacts in the game at the club that he exhausts, I'm sure. He's doing some amazing stuff this summer. So, he's not for me. But, Hand of Arsenal, you are the man. You are the GOAT. If any of you are wondering, go check out at Hand of Arsenal. He is always in the chat, and I know a number of you really, really love him. But thank you. I appreciate that. I'm going to try and find the message now. I can see lots of people saying FK, ITK. But Wayne, going back to the Tomiyasu story. I mean, it's a sad story, but how have you sort of digested it over the last 24 hours?
I can't say I'm entirely surprised. And if I'm honest, I don't think that this would have come solely from the club. I don't think that we would have approached him and said, we want to get rid of you completely and wanted to cut your contract. I think we've known that Tomiyasu hasn't necessarily been in the best sort of headspace. through not only the time that he's been injured, but he didn't take the situation with Japan going out of the World Cup very well. Obviously, he's had personal issues off the field, which has affected him as well. And last season, a lot of our fans will remember that we saw sort of on his Instagram and on his socials, he was doing a lot of traveling. And obviously, he wasn't in London quite a lot. He was traveling abroad, and he was going to kind of, I suppose, get his mind right, because it takes its toll on a player that they can't really, and we spoke about this before, they can't do the one thing that they truly love. Simon Collins tweeted out earlier, and he said, according to Transfermarkt, Tomiyasu spent 690 days out injured while at Arsenal, missing out on over 100 games for club and country. Now, it wouldn't surprise me if he just kind of wants to get a bit of a clean break, go and relax for however long the rest of this injury is, and has either approached the club or, like you said, it's been a mutual conversation, and he can now go and either play back in Japan if that's where he's comfortable, or secure an absolute bag in Saudi or something like that, and play for 1 year if he can, a year and a half, secure life-changing money, and then hopefully just look to stay fit in maybe a less intense league or a less physical league, but will pay him top dollar that can secure for the rest of his life. So yeah, I can't say I'm entirely surprised about it. And like I said, I don't think it's solely something that the club would have said, yeah, goodbye Tomiyasu, we don't want you anymore. I think it would have been a conversation that would have been addressed, and it wouldn't surprise me if he approached us first because of like the off-field side of it, the mental side of it, whether he wants to be in Japan, whether he wants to be with family, whatever it might be. And yeah, it's a shame that it's not worked out well. Injury-wise, it's disappointing that we only saw him once last season. And I think we'll all remember him for what he done to Salah in that Liverpool game at left-back. That was a monumental performance from him, and it was one of the best defensive performances from a player that we've seen in recent years at Arsenal. And it's also sad that we will remember him as probably the difference between us winning a title a couple of seasons ago and not. Because obviously Saliba went down injured, and that was a big blow. But if Tomiyasu was fit at that same time, we probably aren't playing Rob Holding at centre-back, and we probably then go on to win the league just because of his quality. So it's a real disappointment to lose them both at the same time. But wish him well. And like I said, I really hope he just secures his bag and can secure his wealth for the rest of his career, whether it's in Japan or elsewhere.
Yeah, a couple of people in the chat, Haroon first and Football with Dax, have just mentioned, in addition to Tommy leaving, it's also sad that Saliba has lost a very close friend. They had a very close sort of bromance friendship, which, is probably not common knowledge. But just to your point on the injuries, I mean, yeah, Wayne's saying there that 690 days of his time he's been injured, and these are, really terrible sort of pictures to see. But you can see a comment there on the right-hand side from Tomiyasu, and his post was, "I'm sick of being injured, but I believe this is the opportunity to be much stronger." And, when you're injured and you're surrounded by your loved ones and your family, that helps soften the blow. But Tomiyasu is playing here largely alone. And I want to, well, I hope I'm right, and I hope I'm absolutely, not misquoting this, but I think he lost his mum recently. Maybe the chat can correct me on that, or he's someone very close in his family he lost. And so it's quite solitary. And he's going through 690 sort of dark days of trying to recover. And all this boy wants to do is play football. Let's get that absolutely out of the way. Like, he is not obviously, happy being injured, doesn't want to be injured. No footballer does. All he wants to do is play football. And, I can't believe some of the criticism that he's had on social. Well, actually, I can, state of social media, but, he doesn't deserve any criticism. What's your thoughts, Jim?
It's just really sad, isn't it? We talked about this, I think, on a pod last year about the mental side of football and how hard it can be for some players. We treat footballers as robots almost. We think of them, they should be super fit, super ready, should be in their greatest mental state, should be doing this and that. They're human beings. I said this before. They're no different to you or me when they have mental problems. It's all the same. Money can go so far. It can't help you with your happiness necessarily. It can't, there's sayings around this. And injuries we've seen are devastating, but to get two what we call, career-threatening injuries in succession must be absolutely soul-destroying. And then you pile that on top of the mental, some of the issues he's gone through, which you've just talked about. That needs a lot of mental fortitude, a lot of patience, a lot of mental stamina to get through that. And maybe he can't. Maybe we don't know what these players are going through. They're not obliged to tell us, and we're not. We're speculating. We want them to have that. We want them to be at their best because we want them to enjoy their football, as you said, Faisal. But clearly, something's happened here with Takehiro that he's, he needs a fresh start. It's clear he wants a fresh start. As Wayne said, it's a mutual thing. He must have gone to the club and said, "Look, I'm really struggling, or something's happened, and I need to move on." And they've both agreed to it. I think from a club side, taking out the player, it made sense. The fact is unfortunately, we've always said durability is, or your durability and availability is going to be your greatest quality, and unfortunately, he hasn't. But I think everyone on social media, please, can we just have a bit of common sense and a bit of courtesy and decency? It's a human being we're talking about. He doesn't want to be injured. He wants to play football. He feels that he can't do it here for whatever reasons. Whenever he's played for us, has he given anything less than his 100%? No. I think he's been superb. Every time I've seen him, he's given 100%. He's never said any bad word about the club. He's never been speaking out against, I don't like this, I don't like that, I don't like this. He's been respectful from day one. I have not met an Arsenal fan who doesn't like Takehiro Tomiyasu as a player and as what he eschews as a person. And it's a bit disappointing from our fan base and from rival fan bases when so much is going on that we can still be so spiteful to someone who's clearly struggling. We don't, as I said, we don't know the mental struggles. Can we just have a bit of some
compassion,
politeness, compassion, just to understand that people are going through things, and we as other human beings should try to be as compassionate as possible. I wish him nothing but the best. I've loved him when he's played for us. He was one of my favorite players when he came in. As you said, as Wayne said, the performance against Salah, one of the best in the world, and he was at left back. The one thing I will say about him, whatever position he played, he never let us down. I thought he was superb every time he played. He was just so consistent. It's just a shame that we're losing a top quality professional when he is fit in the team, because we all talk about it. Every one of us has always talked about, if Tomiyasu was fit, we would have been fine in the league. As you just said, we would have been so much more stable. We could have rotated better, etc. And it's just a shame that we never got to see him consistently. We never got that full. I think we got one season where we had pretty much a full season, and then that's it. We got nothing, and it's just again, I hope he does well wherever he goes. I hope whatever happens to him, he's happy at least. That's the main thing.
I'm sad to confirm that the chat of sort of dug out, yeah, he did lose his mother. I remember there was some sort of trauma he was going through in terms of like personal loss. And listen, mums are our queens, right? They're the most precious people in our lives. And even though he's a grown adult, you always need your mum. You always need a cuddle from your mum. You always need a little bit of love and a bit of encouragement from your mum. And I imagine it must have been a very difficult place for him. So really great to see so much nice, kind words in the chat. Hannah of Arsenal saying Arteta personally asked him to go home to Japan to do rehab around family when he got injured, which you'd expect nothing less from them in terms of helping a player through rehab. It's really difficult. And I think we wish him well. We hope that at some point he's obviously fit and plays football, because that's all he wants to do. And irrespective of what level that might be, it may not be Premier League, might be Saudi, might be, maybe back to Serie A, like a place, a country, a league he knows and loves. But we just want to see him playing again. I'm a little bit surprised that Arsenal either agreed to or encouraged him to pull the plug early. And Viggs, you asked a question earlier. I don't know the answer to this, if I'm being honest, mate. Maybe you can discuss it amongst yourselves in the chat. General question: does mutual agreement require us to pay out a portion of his salary? I mean, if you go by Football Manager, I think you end up paying a little bit of the contract. I mean, that's as reality as I know. So maybe But he's just 26, Dax says. That's what's bonkers. He's just 26. Even if he saw out the contract for a year.
Yeah, but do you remember who was that player at Man City? It wasn't Stephen Ireland. Michael Johnson. Do you remember Michael Johnson?
I don't, I'm afraid, but go on.
He was considered one of the best talents for a long time and really struggled mentally with the side of the game. We've got a lot of players who do really well, elite sportsmen like Ronaldo, Messi, who are top of their game and have been doing it for years. But they also have to be so mentally on it and so mentally ready. It's, that maybe we hold them to a higher standard. I think, again, we just need to bear in mind these are human beings. They're rich human beings. They're super talented human beings, but human beings nonetheless with the same problems that we may have mentally, the same worries, the same idiosyncrasies, all of this kind of stuff. And once, they will have problems. And unfortunately, Tomiyasu has had issues and we can't speculate on how much it's taken a toll. So again, I hope he just gets back to play. If he wants to play football, I hope he plays where it makes him happy. If he wants to do something else, I wish him the best.
Indeed. Thank you, Tomiyasu. Farewell, my friend. Hopefully you go on to live that dream. Hannah Arsenal says, be human, be kind. Empathy is what connects us. Rory95 was saying, not long ago, I got Tomiyasu on the back of my shirt. He was my favourite player. Hopefully he gets fit and is okay mentally. Of course, we wish him all the very best. Go on, Yem.
Do we all agree that on his day, he was a top player? When he was fit.
I think Wayne said that. Yeah, I mean, defensively, unbelievable. Not so sure sort of going forward in that final third, but defensively, 1v1, either left or right. I think Wayne mentioned the Mo Salah performance. I mean, yeah, on his day, one of the toughest fullbacks to beat, no doubt.
It is a real shame that we've lost someone who's quality.
Shame. It's a big shame. Jason W says, legit one of the best 1v1 defenders, and his versatility, the fact that he could play right, left, and maybe even in the centre. You had a couple of appearances at centre back. It's just a real shame that he's not been available, not been fit, because I think he could have been a tremendous player for Arsenal. But at 26, he's still got a long way to go, many more miles in that tank. So hopefully he will recover and come back. Let's talk about something else. Gabriel Heinze is set to join Arsenal as a coach, as Carlos Cuesta, of course, was appointed as manager of Parma at 29 years of age, which is insane. But Gabby Heinze, we're going to talk about him and his sort of career so far on the next couple of slides. So I guess the first question here is, Wayne, how did this grab you? Bit of a surprise? How do you feel? What's your raw reaction?
I was very surprised because there were rumors about him joining like 6-8 months ago or something like that. And it didn't happen for whatever reason. I think it was linked around about the time that AirPod Albert was linked to take over at Ajax. So potentially it was 1 in, 1 out at that time. But then when it didn't happen, I just thought nothing of it. And I actually thought he was a senior manager somewhere in Argentina. I don't know how that went. I'm assuming not well, since he's now coming in to be one of our assistants. But it was a surprise, but a positive one. I think we've long mentioned on this show that we hope that the background staff get refreshed more sort of consistently under Arteta. We had Steve Round leave and we didn't really replace him at the time. We had Cuesta kind of step up internally. And now this is like the first real big coaching change that we've had with Cuesta leaving. But I like it a lot because I think he's the only real member of the backroom staff who has first team managerial experience, which I think is really important. He's obviously got really, yeah, I do. Even though it's not necessarily Premier League experience, just the fact that he's managed the dressing room and he knows how to handle a dressing room and has been there and done that and experienced it. I think that that's important. Mm-hmm. Another thing that I think is important is obviously he knows the Premier League and has been successful at Manchester United in the Premier League, although you can argue some of his sort of defending at times at Man United wasn't necessarily the best. He learned from a number of the best across his career. He obviously knows Arteta. They get on quite well. It seems like they have a prior relationship to this. So that's always a positive. And I think the big thing for me, and this is going off of clips going around and remembering him as a player, he seems the complete opposite to a lot of our coaches at the moment. And what I mean by that is our coaches right now are very kind of not reserved, but very uniformed. They're very not again quiet, but they're not crazy. And Heinze at times was crazy, like especially as a player. So I think that will come across to the squad, and I imagine that will come across a lot on the touchline. I imagine that him and Arteta will be fighting it out for yellow cards most weekends. But no, I'm glad that we have refreshed it a little bit, and like I said, I am glad it's someone that has a bit more experience in the bag than, let's say, I know we spoke about Santi Cazorla, for example, coming in and being a coach. I much prefer this route than that, as much as I love Cazorla.
I can't believe you just said you love Heinze more than you love Cazorla. That's just, I mean, what is going on?
As a coach.
You said it, mate. Your words, not mine. I want to clip that up. Yembele, what do we know about Gabi Heinze? Of course, Wayne's alluded to the fact that he's had a Premier League career, successful one as well. 52 games for Manchester United. I Googled Heinze, and every picture, there's a bit of spice. He's either grimacing, tongue out, in the face of a ref. I mean, it's fireworks. Box office is how I would like to describe this move. But he won the Premier League title at Manchester United. Was also Busby Player of the Year the season before they became champions. Also played at Real Madrid 44 times, won La Liga there. Played for PSG, or just shy of 100 times. Didn't actually win Liga with them, but he did win it with Marseille. But he's 47 years of age. I don't know why I've kept height in there, but some people like to know if a coach has got an aura about him. He's not the tallest. He's a left back, as many of you have joked in the chat. He's played for Argentina 72 times. So listen, you cannot deny the caliber of him as a player. And I do remember, Wayne, even seeing him play for Real Madrid, seeing him play for United, there was a spice about him. There was a real needle about the way that he went to play. Riled up opposition players, riled up opposition fans in the face of the referee. And you talk about him competing with Arteta for that yellow card. I mean, I tweeted sort of tongue in cheek yesterday. Game week 3, he will be sent to the stands because we're at Anfield. You just write it down. I do not advocate betting, but just write it down on a notepad that FK said it on the 4th of July.
I'm surprised you've made him last that long. He's going to be in the crowd fighting United fans on game 1.
Oh, my word, yeah. And United fans apparently don't like him. And I can't remember if that's because of the way that he left or whatever. But that is the man that we are going to get. Chat, let me know your thoughts on Gabi Heinze. And just to confirm, I will have a special guest who will talk about Gabi Heinze and his personality and profile as one of the Daily Grind shows in the next week or two. But yeah, your thoughts. I mean, Wayne's just given you a broad brush sort of overview as to his thoughts. I've given you a little pen portrait there in terms of his time and career playing style. Was this a move that surprised you, Yem?
No, because obviously, as Wayne and you have said, it was muted for a while. He was muted to come a while ago, and then obviously that fell by the wayside when Carlos Cuesta stepped up. But it seems like Mikel has got a lot of respect for Gabi Heinze and came back in for him this time, because obviously there was links to Santi Cazorla, a few other coaches, but he came back in for Gabi Heinze. He's got him on his coaching staff, so there must be something there that he really respects about him in terms of a coach and in terms of what he can bring to his existing coaching team. I'm very interested because, as you said, the coaching team should always get a refresh every so often. Alex Ferguson was very good at doing it, and I quite like that. I like new ideas coming into the pool. So I'm very interested to see what he brings. I'm sure he'll bring an energy, as you talked about. He is certainly a fiery person, so I doubt that will not show up in games. I'm interested. Is it more on the tactical side? Is it more on the mental state, physical? I'm wondering what he brings different that, Carlos Cuesta, who was by all accounts very influential in the coaching setup, i.e. he was, we've seen it in the All or Nothing documentary. He spoke to Ben White, was trying, individual coaching. Is that Gabi Heinze, or is it something completely different? I'm really looking forward to seeing is there any immediate effect to his introduction into the Arsenal team. Do we do things a little bit differently? So yeah, I'm all for it because I always think we should have new blood, and I'm just interested to see what he can bring that will be different for us.
Yeah, look, the heat, the spice, the box office is going to be Very, very interesting. AP's just gone off-piste. Does that mean that we might pick up some Argentine upcoming superstars potentially? Why not?
I don't think the club know what that means.
Well, if they're left backs, we might. Jason makes a really good point here. Look, yeah, there you go, Wayne. He's coming in to get those yellow cards for Arteta, so that Arteta doesn't get any bans on the touchline. But look, I mean, a few of you have pointed out quite astutely that he and Arteta were teammates in the past. Look what I dug up there. Look at that. Gabi Heinze and Mikel Arteta from their PSG days. Do you know that's not even the wildest thing about this photo? I've cropped this photo of these two from a photo of 6 players, right? And you will never guess who those 6 players are.
Isn't Pochettino one?
Pochettino is one. Who are the other 3? Just shout out random names.
Who's in that team?
Just, I mean, I can't explain to you how mental this collection of players is.
I'm just glad I got the Pochettino one right. I can retire.
Oh, I can't remember.
Ronaldinho, JJ Okocha,
of course,
and Nicolas Anelka.
I wouldn't have got Anelka.
With Pochettino, Arteta, and Heinze. It's insane.
Bulked. I can't.
What age would Anelka have been?
He would have been
one of the youngest, wouldn't he?
No, end of his days. Arteta's what? I mean, how old's Arteta? I don't know. 40? Anelka was what, 19 back in 97. So
to be fair, I still think of Anelka as a 19-year-old now.
Yeah, true. But listen, the point remains. They were teammates at PSG. They've been very close and kept in touch since. That is Gabi Heinze pictured actually at the Emirates Stadium just a couple of months ago. He was a special guest, I think, to the Madrid game, I want to say. Maybe the PSG game, I'm not sure. AFC TID says, thank you, FK, for this stream. All you guys make me laugh after a shocking 48 hours. So thank you. I really appreciate that. That's a lovely, lovely message. JVille GRFX says, Heinze and Garnacho, FK's dream. Let's not do that. Let's not do that today. And Arteta hasn't. Look at him. He's not aged, says Whole Milk. Yeah, Ronaldinho, Dax. Indeed, Ronaldinho. It's everyone saying Ronaldinho. And if Arsenal guessed it as well, JJ Okocha. I mean, look, I don't know much about Gabi Heinze's coaching methodology. Obviously, lots of people sort of speculating about, he's another defensive coach because he was a left centre back. I think that's yet to be seen. He hasn't had the most successful managerial career. He's done a little bit in South America, North America. But this is going to be the first time that he's part of a coaching setup in Europe, in England. And of course, with his mate Arteta. And I think kind of Arsenal said it earlier that Mikel has had full reign on this decision. And I think that makes sense. Chaps, I did put it to you maybe a few weeks back when Carlos Cuesta left. Like, should it be someone that Arteta doesn't necessarily pick? Should it be someone that the club picks that challenges Arteta? But I think when you think about the role of these guys, like, it's not just the match day, it's working together every day, watching endless hours of tapes, clips, videos, and analyzing data. And they've got to make decisions together. There is no point in having disagreements for the sake of disagreements and having challenge for the sake of challenge. So, look, like I said just a few moments ago, I will bring a special guest onto Latte Firm, one of the daily grinds in the coming weeks, to talk about Gabi Heinze and why Arteta would have been interested and what he or she expects Heinze to bring to the squad. But that is the latest change. So no Santi Cazorla, much to Wayne's delight. And Gabi Heinze, it is. Thanks a lot for chat, for getting involved in that. Really appreciate that. Yem, you messaged today in the group chat that we have, where's my striker? And apparently Mikel Arteta has said that he wants a new striker before July the 19th, which is just 2 weeks away. Mikel Arteta is desperate for a striker to join Arsenal before pre-season begins on the 19th of July. Well, Yem, where is he?
That's an interesting question, because from one day to the next, we're getting non-update, an update. He's moving for Sesko. Sesko doesn't want to join. It's Gyökeres. Gyökeres wants to join. This is happening. That's happening. I can't make head or tail of it. We obviously know that we're in for 2 primary strikers with Ollie Watkins potentially as a backup. But Ollie Watkins is obviously looking as well. Man United are looking at Ollie Watkins as well. Where this ends up, I have no idea. It seems to be leaning towards Gyökeres because RB Leipzig and Sesko are maybe putting too much in terms of their demands. But again, I can't tell from one update to the next what it is. There's nothing definitive. And since obviously Sami Mokbel has put out an update this morning around that seems to be leading it's a bit more favourable towards Gyökeres. But tomorrow it could be, back to square one. We don't know. We know RB Leipzig need cash because they've got a new manager and they need to overhaul the squad. They haven't got Europe. My preference has always been very clear. I would like Šeško, but I just want my striker done. We need it before the 19th. If we get to the stage where it's during the preseason, I'm not convinced that's the greatest way to go about a season where we know the striker is going to be pivotal to it. Not necessarily as the starter, but it will be pivotal. But again, I like how Berta is doing things. I am, interested to see where he lands up with the big signing. We already know that he moves quite quickly for the smaller size. Norgard, he's gone. He's working on Mosquera. He's been decisive in the Takehiro Tomiyasu release. I don't know if he had a direct impact, but it's on his watch as well. So there are certain things he's doing now that I'm going, yeah, I'm liking it. So we'll see, because this striker search is probably the number one priority on his list. Obviously, there's other stuff, but this one is the one that has the most eyes on it. So where does it end up? Is it Gyökeres for a lower price? If it is, then you go, okay, he's done his job. It's amazing. We've got more money to spend on other areas. Or is it a Šeško with, again, lower deal? Who knows? It's all very muddied, as someone put it to me yesterday. And now it's a case of waiting and seeing. If I would assume this week we will start to see some kind of movement, because if we want someone in by the 19th, you'd think that with the press, media, all the stuff that we have to do, we will have to get that arranged pretty significantly or know about it. But your guesses are good than mine. You probably know more than I do, ITK, because you're the ITK now. Where things are.
I know a little bit. I'll be vague because Hand of Arsenal's left the chat, and I'll feed him some stuff again. Andrea Berta is having multiple conversations with multiple players at the same time. We've talked about this as part of the daily grinds in the last couple of days with the journalists that we've had on. Sammy Mockbell was saying that as well. He's keeping all the options open. All the plates are spinning, and whenever Arsenal are ready, they will press the button on whoever they want. I think that's fantastic. There is a little bit of noise coming from Germany that Leipzig are becoming a little bit unsettled with Šeško not, sort of cementing his future there. I think, I would say, if I had to guess, I reckon personal team terms have been agreed with both players. I think a fee has been agreed with Sporting. I think the fee hasn't been agreed with Leipzig at the moment because Leipzig are asking for a lot of money up top. I think Arsenal are just waiting. They're just going to wait. And there's a great question here, Wayne, to kind of bring you in on this chat. Sai says, do you think it's feasible that the possibility of Rodrigo is in some way holding up pulling the trigger on a striker? I wonder, this is not the first time I've heard that question, Wayne, that if Rodrigo is our main wide forward at, say, 75, 80 million quid, that might determine whether we can put 60, 70 million up front for Šeško, or whether it's going to have to be a Gyökeres. There's also Eberechi Eze in the background. Arsenal Arteta have obviously talking to them, his camp, him, the player. Palace have said that they want the release clause to be met, but they would be open to having payments of that in 3 installments. So is it a little bit of hocus pocus what's going on? Yeah, moving around your budget and trying to be flexible.
Yeah, I think in one way or another, they all are completely linked. And I don't necessarily think it's only about the financials, which I completely agree. I do think there is an element of that, but I think it's to do with play styles and player profiles as well. Like, say, for example, if you're going to get a Gyökeres, you need more creativity around a player like that, because we know that his kind of back to goal work, his link up play, his hold up play, his physical stuff isn't necessarily the strongest. Where he's strongest is burying the ball in the back of the net. So if you can then sign the likes of Eze, you've got the likes of Saka, and then you've maybe got like and I'm not the biggest fan of this player, I don't want us to sign him, but if you've then got an out-and-out winger, for example, like Madueke, that maybe suits a Gyökeres play style a little bit more than a Šeško. Whereas if you're going to get a Šeško and you can sort out the terms, then it makes sense to maybe go for a Rodrigo, because they complement each other a little bit more. So I think there's the element of profiles, and I think there is the element of knowing financially what we are and aren't capable to do. Obviously, the reports this week that Leipzig are asking for the basically all of the release clause up front for Sesko. Now, if there's one thing that all of us have learned from this summer is don't make a gentleman's agreement. Get it written in your contract. Do not believe that the club will allow you to go on favourable terms just because they said it a year ago. I think Gyökeres has found that out the hard way currently. And I also think that if there's a deal for Gyökeres to be made that is too good to be true, then I think we will pull the trigger on that, simply because, yes, I'm with Yem. I would prefer Sesko of the two. I think that he would suit us a lot better, and I think he would fit in relatively easily, especially in the Premier League. But if Gyökeres is talking about not showing up to training on Monday, that really ties Sporting's hands a little bit, and you're getting an even more favourable deal because you're getting a guy that's kind of forcing his way out. Now, whether that happens will remain to be seen. But if you can get Gyökeres for like a 50 million pounds, when at the start of the summer it was talk of 80, 90, 100 million, I think you're more than willing to do that to then be able to pull the trigger on Rodrigo. And I actually don't think that the Rodrigo deal is going to be announced or formalized or known about until probably the final days of the window. He's at the Club World Cup now. It looks as though he is on his way out. He's not played in 2 of the 4 games. We are very, very interested there. But you don't know. If Man City sell Grealish, then it wouldn't shock me if Man City went in for him. If we were to sign Madueke, it wouldn't shock me if Chelsea were going to go in for him. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of juggling going on and knowing how much we can pay where. And for Leipzig, I just think, again, if the reports are to be believed right now on the release clause, I think that is a very... I know that they're well within their rights to ask for it, but I don't think anyone is going to pay that. And I don't think Leipzig are in a position to lose out on the amount of money that Arsenal or other teams are willing to pay this summer. So it's just a waiting game.
Juco, Aula, Prince, we are, mate. We're exhausted. Like Yem says, 9 o'clock in the morning, it's Sesko. 3 o'clock in the afternoon, it's Gyökeres. Just before you go to bed at midnight, it's Sesko again. We will have to wait and see how this sort of unfolds, but hopefully Arteta gets his man. AHWR, you must be new around here. We are the lowest of the low. Do not even confuse us. All these YouTube football pundits are so sanctimonious. I even had to look up the word sanctimonious just to see what it meant.
Yem is.
Yeah. He's a menace.
Yeah.
No, sorry, he's not a menace. He's TNT.
I'm a TNT analyst. Sanctimonious TNT analyst. That's what they go
ridiculous.
together.
Right. Okay. Well, look, let's move on because I don't know when we're going to get a striker. I have no idea where the striker is, and it may not even be either Sesko or Gyökeres. Let's remember that. But of course, there is no interest in Hugo Ekitike. There's a lot of talk about Ollie Watkins. It could be someone completely unexpected. Let us wait and see. TV coverage overhaul.
It's going to be Isak, mate.
We'll see. As long as he doesn't go to Anfield, we're good. I don't know if you guys saw this, but I covered this on the Daily Grind on Wednesday night with LeGrove, and we had a really interesting conversation, very short conversation, because obviously that's a daily show. The Premier League have agreed to, refresh the way that TV coverage is done for televised coverage in the UK. So obviously in the UK, we get 2/3 of all the games televised from next season, a new £6.5 billion deal that will see football being shown across Sky Sports and TNT. Couple of changes for you. Substitutes, once they've been allowed to cool down, the BBC understands, will be interviewed after being subbed off. That'll be interesting. Cameramen and ladies will be allowed on to the pitch to join player celebrations when goals are scored. And there is the idea of having cameras and audio in the dressing room at half time. Wayne, was any of this necessary? Does any of it float your boat? What do you think?
Necessary, no. Float my boat, no. But I am very ready for someone to say the wrong thing and it to cause an absolute mess. I'm very ready for that. I don't like the cameras on the pitch at the same time as the celebrations, because I think that is recipe for someone to get very, very hurt.
I didn't think of that. Didn't think of that at all. For me, it was around the cameraman or woman is going to be on the pitch. They're going to go nuts celebrating. There's going to be a nice little camaraderie between them and the camera person. and then VAR gets involved, disallows the goal, and you're back to square one. It just takes even longer.
And meanwhile, Declan Rice has done a knee slide, gone crashing into the cameraman or woman. The camera's gone up, has hit Bukayo Saka in the head, and then he's out for the next 3 games with a concussion. I'm not a massive fan of that. I'm not a huge fan of the dressing room halftime stuff. I don't think it's necessary, because I think coaches or teams are not going to allow you to show everything that they're saying. And I then think you're just going to dilute the product a little bit. But what I will say is all of these changes mean nothing if the pundits are still doing their punditry the way that they have done the last couple of years. Like, unless the way that the game is covered and unless the analysis of it is covered in a way that it should be, and not clickbaity, and not how it's turned just for sort of quotes like it's turned in the last couple of years, all of these overhauls will mean nothing. But look, I'm sure some will love it. It works well in American sports, and I will admit that NBA and NFL do a really good job of like in-play interviews and stuff like that. But you have to allow the players to say the wrong things, otherwise no one's going to want to do it. If you've been subbed off at halftime and you're fuming, we don't want you to say, "Oh yeah, I'm all right with the gaffer subbing me off." That be mad, and let them be mad.
Citizen Nation says Arsenal sucks. Well, Citizen Nation, do you recognise that photo on the right hand side, my boy? That's Miles Lewis Skelly staying humble as we twatted you 5-1 at the carpet. Who cares? He says. Nobody cares, mate. You seem to care a lot. You seem to care a lot, my friend. And we'll see you back in the Emirates. Yambele, your thoughts as a TNT analyst on TNT Sports. Is this something that you would be interested in? Would you want to hear Mikel Arteta and his tactical team talk at halftime? Would you want to hear, a player coming off on the 87th minute saying, didn't want to come? What's going on?
Steady on. Not really. Especially the halftime dressing room talk. I think that should be kind of sacred. It's it's a tactical part of the game. You don't want, and I don't think they're allowed to do that. I think it's that specific interval. I think it's just like at the start of it, not during the team talk. Again, as Wayne said, it's very Americanized in terms of how they do it and their presentation. But I think for the British audience, I don't think they're going to get on board with this as much as the Premier League think. I also think as well that they really should focus on the priorities, overhauling the refereeing standards, a little bit more, a bit more rigor in the game. But no, we're going to get interviews that are not necessarily going to bring anything to the game, because you can't talk to the manager. The manager they talk at the end of the game, talking to a halftime sub who may be pissed off or maybe injured as well. I don't see the point or value out of that. The celebrations, I think we get a good enough camera angle of it. I know in the Club World Cup they've had it on the referee, the camera there, and the running up. Interesting, but does it add anything long term to me? Not really. It just seems like it's papering over some very deep cracks in terms of the quality of the game needs to be improved to have a bit more confidence in the game. Doing this feels like it's a layer of tart that we don't need particularly.
If you wanted the biggest overhaul, and I think someone's put it in the chat there, I think it was... Yes, that's the one.
This one.
If you wanted the biggest overhaul on TV coverage, put mics on the refs, and if there is even if it's not even a negative decision from the ref, how did you get to that positive decision? How did you know that wasn't a foul? Let's interview the refs after the game, whether it's positive or negative. Stop allowing them to be so protected.
Didn't they do that was it the FA Cup or so? Didn't they do that in one of the games where they allowed
refs to get onto the microphone to explain VAR decisions for the benefit of the stadium? The problem that you've got, Wayne, with allowing refs to be interviewed before or after a game is that the game is done. The interview is only going to boil the blood of whoever is watching that's had a decision go against them. Because at best, all you're going to hear is the ref saying, do you know what? I made a mistake. What does that achieve?
It's more than we get now. It's accountability.
Yeah, but we know they made a mistake. Like hearing a ref come out and say, "Oh, it made a mistake," and it's cost you 3 points or potentially a league title. You know, remember the year they didn't draw the offside lines at Arsenal against Brentford, and we took City to the final weekend.
But right now,
we cost us the title.
We know that they made a mistake, but a lot of the time they don't know that they made a mistake. And then Howard Webb comes out and backs them, and then they're still on refereeing duties.
What you're wanting is someone to accuse the referee whilst he is on camera and say, "You made a mistake."
I just want
to see them wince, don't you?
I would like the explanation in real time. Like I would like to know what was even if you don't want to interview them, that's fine. Give us the live feed of the conversation between the ref and VAR, not edited in that stupid Howard Webb show that comes 5 weeks later. Give us that live listening. If you don't want to interview them after the game, that's fine. Give us the live conversation.
That's pretty good.
I could be on.
I mean, that would be fair. That's what Nate's chat. Just fix VAR. That would be the most revolutionary thing that they could do.
But they won't. I can't see them doing it because it'll show up their incompetence. Because generally, we now know they are pretty incompetent in terms of they can't even draw a line and when to do it.
Kai says the Club World Cup is a good representation of how it works. I've not watched a minute of the Club World Cup. I couldn't even tell you what that point is too, Kai. But hopefully you are right. Right, we've just gone over the hour mark. Let's go on to the last couple of things of tonight's show. Manny Cage just shouted, "Corrupt!" Speaking of which, let's move on to what Chelsea have been up to today. So the news is that Chelsea and Aston Villa, might I add, but because we hate Chelsea more, have been fined by UEFA for breaching the European governing body's financial rules, right? So the two clubs could now be prevented from registering new players for all UEFA competitions for the forthcoming season unless they have a positive transfer balance by the end of the summer transfer window. Now, a few of you have said that the Club World Cup has benefited Chelsea, but this has to be a specifically positive transfer balance. So they've got to sell more than they can buy. Chelsea have been fined 31 million euros, so 26 odd million quid. They could be fined a further 50 million euros if they don't comply with these rules in the next 4 years. Right? So Villa have been fined a little bit less, sort of 10 million quid. And then they've got a 13 million pound potential fine for non-compliance over a 3-year period, actually. So why I find this galling, why it sort of irks me, chaps, is that they've basically issued a tin pot fine. It's half of a wide player that they've bought to a rich PE-backed American-owned company that don't give a damn. They've spent 500 million pounds on players. And what's the repercussions of that, Yem? Here's a 30 million quid fine. Do you think they care? Do you think this might encourage them to spend even more and think, well, what's the worst UEFA going to do? What is the worst they're going to do? They're not going to ban us from playing football. They're just going to give us a fine. And there'll just be an additional fine if we keep not complying. I find it absolutely mental. Yem, you go first.
Yeah, I find it mental. This is a slap on the wrist, isn't it, effectively? It's nothing else. Chelsea will pay this. It'll all be fine. They've also been able to talk to them to find a settlement. I find that galling as well. I hate this kind of thing where clubs are allowed to talk to the decision makers to make, to sweeten the fine out a little bit so it doesn't. Why? You break the rules of the game, you accept the punishment. That's how it should be. If you're found to break the rules, which you sign up for, accept the punishment. The fact is, we all knew this was coming from Chelsea because by UEFA FFP standards, Chelsea were really breaking the rules. PSR doesn't account there, so the selling of their women's team, the buildings don't count towards the FFP rating. But I also know that FFP has no teeth either because nothing has happened to any of the other rule breakers before. Barcelona, the biggest one of the lot, what have they had? Nothing. I really hate this, and I keep going on about this. We have got nowhere by adhering to these rules. It is so sad that we are, having to look from the side saying we've followed the rules, but we're not getting anywhere from this. Chelsea will spend another 200, 300 million. You mentioned as well, they need a net positive player sales. They will get that because they've stockpiled 10 to 20 players ready for this. The Brazilian lads, they will go. Andre Santos, etc., he will go. because it's guaranteed. Madueke, and we're going to buy the sucker as well.
That's what Toby's just said. We always help Chelsea. That's what we do, unfortunately.
Why do we do this to ourselves? Why are we here for self-infliction? We are the worst. We should not be helping Chelsea in any way. This is ridiculous. They're going to sell a boatload of players. Aston Villa are going to sell a boatload of players, and they're going to get away with it again and again. Next year will be the same thing again because they've stockpiled more players. Liam Delap will probably go. Then you'll get, another. They're talking about Jordi Petrovic going to Sunderland for £30 million. When Juan Garcia, who is a recognised, potentially good player, better rated than Jordi Petrovic, went for €25 million. It make it make sense to me, because I cannot fathom how this works for Chelsea, because the way they spend, the way it's so reckless, the way that they don't give a damn about the rules. They should have been fined to the hilt, but nothing's happened. FFP, they pass year by year because they do some loophole trading. Aston Villa as well should be as well on the cusp of it, but they've sold their women's team. But here we are with arguably the most valuable women's team now, the European champions. And what we're going to do? Oh, we've got a £97 million PSR thing. We have to stick to that. Chelsea don't give a damn, and they never will. It's been proven they don't give a damn, and nothing's going to happen. It's so annoying to me that we have to keep going through this. And next year they'll find another way to bankroll another 400 million spend.
Wayne, I was going to ask you for your thoughts, but I'm going to ask you a slightly different question. And Yem made a point on this maybe a few weeks ago on a different show where we're talking about FFP. But Zahaib says, sorry to say, gents, but elite level sport is corrupt. The biggest clubs always get away with it. Maybe we should change our strategy. If you can't beat them, I guess the question to you is, Wayne, is there a part of you that thinks, as noble as Arsenal have been over the last God knows how long for trying to always do things the right way, trying to be sustainable, trying to, adhere by all the rules and comply with whatever is set on them, is there a little part of you that wishes, fuck it, let's just do what everyone else is doing. Let's sell our women's team to ourselves. Let's sell our flipping, concourse of the stadium to ourselves. Let's sell Gunnosaurus to ourselves. And just inflate up the numbers and go out and spend £1 billion.
Yep, there's not a part of me, there's a whole of me. I want and expect us to do all of that and more. I expect us now that they've set the tone. These rules have set the tone, so you can't punish us the same way or any sort of more harsh than you've punished Chelsea or that you've punished Aston Villa. Do more. Find ways for us to get into, do what Chelsea do. Find a multi-club model. Sell your youngsters to yourself for £20 million, and that's perfectly fine. Remember, I think it was last summer, Chelsea and Aston Villa, they had some FFP issues, and they basically sold each other a player, which covered each other's FFP. I think Aston Villa signed Matson for like €35 million, which was just the equivalent of what Chelsea needed. And Chelsea signed an Aston Villa youth player for like 40 million, and I don't know if he's ever played. I don't know if he ever will play, but it just so happened to help Aston Villa. Like, sports at the top level, like that person said, is corrupt. There's no two ways about it. And clubs in general, multi-billionaires in general, they don't care about morals. So I don't understand why we as a fan base, when it comes to stuff like this and when it comes to finding loopholes in the system, when it comes to paying fines and doing transfers and things like that, I just don't see why we wouldn't be looking to take advantage. And I think that Liverpool have even started to do it. Like, if you think that the signing of Wirtz and then the follow-up signing of Quansah was just a random coincidence, like, come on, of course, it's you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. And we just don't really do that. We always try to do things the stand-up way, and it doesn't lead us anywhere. It hasn't done since Abramovich took over at Chelsea. So if they're not going to change the rules so that basically Man City or Newcastle win it every year and just basically scrap the rules and say you can spend whatever it is you want, we need to start getting creative and doing things, because the biggest thing for us that is stopping us from spending that 2 billion, whatever it is the fact that we don't really sell very well. And when you look at a lot of the departures that Chelsea in particular have, they're selling to people that they're in bed with. And you can say it's wrong, you can say it's right, but that's how they've been able to kind of manage from an FFP point of view. And if we were to do that with an affiliate club, with another club, that whether it's KSE or whatever it needs to be take over, then that's just what you need to do in today's game until they're willing to either A, punish teams appropriately, and it will remain to be seen what they do, I guess, in the Premier League with Chelsea and more importantly with Man City, or B, until they change the rules so that you just allow everyone to just kind of spend whatever the hell they want.
There you are. There are quite a few people in the chat that are like, no, actually, I want to stay. I want to stay the way that we're doing it because when we win it, if we ever win it, it's going to be sweeter. However, what have you got to show for it? That's the problem. Haroon says we're naive if we don't maximize the bounds of the rules. And I think that's a really lovely way to summarize the issue. Look, they've been fined for a rich man, rich owner. That is nothing to pay. It is merely a drop in the ocean. But it does make me think, why are Newcastle limited? Why, they're having all sorts of spending issues at the moment. I mean, surely they'd be thinking, like, just go out and spend, and what's the worst that can happen? You just pay a small fine, not even half a Pedro Neto. Like,
I don't think they got the asset. I don't think they got assets though, like Chelsea. Chelsea had the hotel, the women's team, the complex. They could do that. I don't think Newcastle have that apart from St James's Park. I don't think they have anything.
Yeah, true. Maybe they got Biker Grove they can sell to them. and Ant and Deck. Maybe,
Ant and Deck. We sell Ant and Deck to them.
I don't know. We're not finished there. We're going to just come on to Diogo Jota. Obviously, desperately sad news that we all sort of woke up to yesterday. Liverpool forward Diogo Jota has very sadly died in a car crash, aged just 28 years of age. Portugal international and his brother, Andre Silva, also died in the accident which took place in the Spanish province of Zamora, I want to say. I think that's how it's pronounced. It wasn't even 2 weeks ago that he married his long-term partner, with whom he's got 3 children. Devastating, having played for Atletico Madrid, Wolves, obviously Liverpool, scored 65 goals for them in 180 odd games. That's 1 in 3. He helped them win the FA Cup, the League Cup back in 22, the Premier League, of course, the number 20 Premier League for them, the number 20 as he wore on his shirt last season. Obviously devastating news, Yem and Wayne. From a personal perspective, it's crazy, and it puts so many things into perspective. But like, he was a player who tormented us time and time again. A really, really gifted footballer, someone who really, had his day with us. And there was a wonderful tribute from an Arsenal fan that Liverpool fans have picked up on, and I think it was a young lady who said, when we used to come to play Liverpool, I used to fear playing you. I'd hate seeing you in the lineup. And you used to torment us and used to score goal after goal against us, a bit like, Firmino, he was just that sort of nemesis. And she closed her message by saying, I would open up to a mountain of goals from you if it meant we could see you again. It's quite touching, that, but it's really devastating news. I mean, what is there even to ask? Do you want to say anything about Diogo Jota before we sort of wrap up?
It was so sad to read and hear, and it's been even more touching and more devastating to see and hear from the Liverpool teammates, people that he sees day in, day out, people that he's worked with year in, year out, people that he's friends with. Like, they have, I think the lovely thing about what they've been doing is they've hardly talked about him as the player. They've talked about him as the man that he was, the father that he was, the new husband that he was, the video gamer that he was. Like, he was just a very simple, likable guy. And I think as a fan of Arsenal, like you said, he tormented us. But it's one of those things where he tormented us, but you still liked him. He didn't have that person like a Didier Drogba, for example. We've got like a bit of a back and forth with Drogba. He tormented us for Chelsea. Jota, he tormented us, but he was still someone you wanted to do well for Liverpool. He's still someone that you wanted to do well for Portugal, and he's someone that you wanted to do well when he was at Wolves as well. And I think that thinking about him having the probably best last 6 weeks of his entire life. Obviously, before this happened, he got married. He won the Premier League with Liverpool. He won the Nations League again with Portugal. Like, he must have been on the highest of the highs, and it was just so devastating and so impactful just for the football community. Because I don't think, at least from my lifetime, I don't think we've had anyone, especially as young and as high profile in the Premier League, lose their life at this stage. I remember like Mark Vivian Foe when I was very young, but I think he had left Man City at that point. Obviously, in our fan base, we had Reyes, but he had left us at that point and was kind of towards the end of his career. This is so impactful because he's someone that we've watched for like the past 6-7 years, week in, week out. And whether you're a Liverpool fan or not, you feel like you know the person. And we don't at all. You feel like you've kind of either grown up with them or you know them a lot more than you do. And it's just so devastating. All thoughts with his family, his lovely sort of wife and kids. That wedding photo and his last post on his social media was really sort of somber. Like, the fact that is the last thing that he posted on his social media was it's lovely to obviously know how happy he was at the time of the wedding. But yeah, and our love and thoughts to the Liverpool fan base as well, because I can't imagine going through that with one of our own, and I would never want to. I wouldn't wish it on any fan base. I wouldn't wish it on anyone at all. So love and thoughts to them, all of the players as well. So yeah, just don't take it for granted. I think the thing that it's taught me, just don't take for granted getting home at night. Like, when you finish work, when you're driving, when you're traveling in, like, don't take for granted the how blessed you are to reach home at the end of the day.
Mate, I don't think I could have put it any better than that. And I think that is where we are going to end it. If anybody wants to follow Wayne, of course, he's available on X at WaynesWorld20_. If anybody wants to follow Yembele, he's available at Verge59. There are hundreds of you watching live on YouTube right now. Please do drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, get involved in the chat. Sorry for the somewhat flat entrance. Hopefully you guys can understand exactly why it's been a terrible 48 hours for football for a variety of reasons. We'll be back with the daily grind tomorrow. Not really sure who and what and how and when, but I will reveal all in good faith. But I will leave you tonight with this. Having played for Atletico Madrid and Wolves, he scored 65 goals in 182 appearances for Liverpool, helping them win the FA Cup, the League Cup, and the Premier League title. Diogo Jota. And at the end of May, Liverpool supporters serenaded Jota at Anfield as he paraded the Premier League trophy in front of the Kop. With a big, beaming grin, he soaked up the celebrations as they sang about empowering the club to victory with his goals. And as now Liverpool fans implore the club to retire his shirt, his song will be sung with double venom at the start of the new season, I am sure. His name is Diogo. Bye for now.